Hello everybody, welcome to my phone. Welcome to Record of Ragnarok, the podcast about my favorite manga and anime, Record of Ragnarok. Now, I apologize if the first episode made it seem like I would only make new episodes when a new chapter dropped, and although I am going to be making a new episode for every new chapter that drops, I also want to make episodes about things related to Record of Ragnarok that might not be in correlation with a new chapter dropping, and this is one of those episodes. Now, our friend at Spoilers of SNV over on Twitter has revealed that the fighters for round 9, both of the gods and the humans, will be revealed. This month's upcoming chapter is sure to shake the foundations of the Record of Ragnarok community and the story of Record of Ragnarok. But who will be fighting? It seems that everybody and their mother in the Record of Ragnarok community has had a conversation about who they want to win, what order they want all the fights to go into, and I thought I might as well throw my hat into the ring for good measure. Now, I'm going to do my best to stick with the current lineup that we have, given the initial list that we were given, but of course, there has been some switching around in the stories. Some gods turned to the human side, and Hades was added to the god side, and the way it's looked at now, if we were to include Siegfried, which I personally am, in the fighters for humanity, it means that we're 2 gods short, so I'm going to have to add 2 more gods into the mix just to make this line up well. You might fully disagree with the gods that I have chosen to add, but it's okay. This list is just my opinion. You are free to 1000% disagree with it. So for round 9, I have picked Okita Soji versus Loki. My reason for picking this is a very simple one. Okita has been waiting very patiently for his turn for a very long time, and I feel bad for the guy at this point. He has to fight. And not to mention that little fight between Okita and Loki in the anime for season 2 that was exclusive to the anime and not shown in the manga had me very excited for this potential matchup. I think the connection is they're both kind of crazy. You know, I think if we were to pick an alternate opponent for Loki, it would have to be Nostradamus, since Nostradamus was seemingly given the role of humanity's Joker. Now, of course, there are plenty of trickster gods within mythology, Coyote from the Native American mythology, Enki from Yoruban mythology, but let's be honest, Loki is probably the best example of a trickster god, and he is a mainstay character in Record of Ragnarok, so it just makes sense. At least on the surface, but honestly, if not Loki, I don't see who else Okita could possibly go up against. Every other matchup has a phenomenal pairing, so yes, it's a little bit of a stretch to put Okita and Loki together, but I really just don't see who else they could face. Now, the winner of this match, and I want to preface this, I love Okita. Okita's great, probably one of my favorite characters. He's just a lot of fun, he's awesome, but I just don't see them killing off Loki. I really just don't. True, Okita has been around for a long time, but Loki has been around longer and I think has played more of a role in the story, interacting with other characters. So I'm gonna have to give this victory to Loki, although it feels bad. It feels bad doing that because, again, I love Okita. He's great, but I think Loki's gonna have to take this one. Now, with the ending of that round, the gods will be up by 1 point. For the first time ever since Quinn's victory, the gods are once again in the lead. Next round is going to have my most hyped god, and that is Anubis versus, come on, could it have been literally anybody else? I know potentially with Simo's nickname being White Death, putting him up against the death god makes sense, and sure, Rasputin with his mystical healing abilities could go against Apollo, who is a god of healing, but come on, Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the underworld versus the unkillable monk of Russia, Russia's greatest love machine, Grigory Rasputin, it pretty much writes itself. I picture this fight seeming very one-sided on the side of Anubis, because with Anubis being a god of death, he can just snap his fingers and Rasputin dies. But of course, you can't just kill Rasputin like that. Rasputin just keeps getting up over and over and over and over and over again. No matter what Anubis pulls out, he just can't seem to put Rasputin down until ultimately he does. And I think that this victory should go to Anubis. As much fun as I like Rasputin as a representative for humanity, I really think that ancient Egypt's only representative should get the W. Not to mention, as I said, he is my favorite god that is fighting my non-combative god favorite, probably being Hermes. So I just have to give it to Anubis. Now I know what some people might be thinking. Yes, this is 3 god victories in a row. That is 100% on purpose on my end. I think having the first 3-peat in the series is something that I don't think a lot of people are expecting. It's honestly something I'm not expecting, so I would like a little bit of that unpredictability. I would like that sort of shock of, oh my god, the gods are up 2 points for the first time since the beginning. Round 11 is going to be Apollo versus Simo. And of course Simo's going to win. I know I'm a trash Simo stan. I'm the worst. But I don't have it in me to kill Simo. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't have it in me. I don't even like reading people saying that he should die. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I know I'm trash. I'm a normie. Whatever you want to say. I have to have Simo win this. And I think, in my defense, it could also play into the story because Apollo is Zeus's son. Sure, Hercules is technically his like adopted son, but having like his flesh and blood son get murdered in front of Zeus after having Hades die, after having Poseidon die, I think would just break Zeus. I think it would make Zeus go crazy. I think Zeus gets confident after the 3 victories and says, you know what, okay, I'll send my son in because my son's not going to lose, and then he does. I think that just heartbreaking moment for Zeus, I think, can establish his character more. I think Zeus is a character, he is essentially the god's version of Brunhild. He is the version, he is essentially the representative for the gods. He is sending the fighters out. He is sort of picking all of the fighters. He is the one that agreed to Ragnarok. And so far, with his brothers dead and now his son dead, I think that just adds much more tension to this whole thing. Now, with the Greek god being made Swiss cheese by the Finnish man, I think we're going to go to round 12, and it's going to be Kintoki versus Susano. I think this matchup fits great. I think that they are both solid picks from either side that can go in and put on a nice round for everybody. Honestly, this match could go either way. I'm sort of indifferent towards Kintoki, and we haven't met Susano yet, even though I think Kintoki has a really cool design and so far has been very cool. I just don't feel a connection with him, at least as of now. So I'm going to give this victory to the gods and give it to Susano because I just feel as if, although Kintoki is cool, I think there are other humans that I would much prefer to win. So, sorry Kintoki fans, I think Kintoki looks cool, he's cool from what I've seen, but I'm just going to have to give this to Susano so other humans can win. That brings us to 3 more rounds and only 1 god left from the representatives of the gods that we saw back during round 1, and that would be Odin. And I definitely think Odin should be the final god faced. He is a chief deity. He is a huge deal. I feel like we've gotten a sense of his abilities after the fountain fight that happened during or before round 5, depending if you're a manga reader or anime watcher. Odin just seems incredibly powerful, and I think he is the perfect final boss. So I will get around to his matchup later. But for now, I'm going to be putting in the 2 gods that I think would be interesting to see. So for round 13, going up against Nostradamus is going to be Baldi, the Norse god, son of Odin. I think it kind of makes sense. You know, earlier, Zeus lost his son. He lost Apollo. And now Odin's going to lose his son, and I think the mythology of Baldi being very important, and his death signifying the end of gods, the mythological version of Ragnarok, I think is very symbolic. It's sort of, Baldir is the symbol of a future catastrophe, and Nostradamus predicts catastrophes. I think those two going together would be very interesting. I think it would be a matchup that has a lot of tension, since we really won't know who's going to win at this point. And I'm going to give the victory to Nostradamus because I really like Nostradamus. I really like Nostradamus, so I'm going to give the victory to him. He takes over and wins the fight against Baldir. Now, who will go up against Siegfried? This is going to be a major round, second to last one. And of course, Brunhild will have to be Siegfried's Volander. It just makes sense. They already have a connection, and this is going to be painful. I'm going to have Siegfried and Brunhild lose. I love Brunhild. She's probably my favorite character in Record of Ragnarok that isn't a human, that isn't Simo. She's best girl in the series. It's already been foretold ever since the end of round 4, and she said that she would be joining Hercules. It is foretold, and they could do something similar to round 5, where she is dying with the person she loves, and that being the end, and that would add a lot of emotional tension, and I think that they should lose. I hate doing that. I hate it, but I just think it makes the most sense given the story that we have been given. But who would do it? Who would be the one to put down Siegfried? Well, we have to look at Siegfried, and we have to determine, okay, what is known about Siegfried? He is known as the Dragon Slayer, so it makes sense for him to go up against a sort of dragon-type enemy, and I think Quetzal does the job perfectly. The feathered serpent, chief deity of the Aztecs. It's shocking that the Aztecs and Mayans and Incas have such a rich mythology, and it hasn't been delved upon even once or even hinted at in Record of Ragnarok, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to do so. Sort of like, Anubis is going to get his time to shine with the Egyptian mythology. I think Quetzal can have his time to shine with the Aztec mythology and really show how powerful he is and make an impact. And I think Quetzal would be the perfect opponent for Siegfried and sadly Brunhild, and be the one to put them down. Now we are on to the final match, and it's pretty predictable. Everybody sort of thinks this is going to be the final match, and it makes sense that it would be. It's going to be Leonidas versus Odin. I know we sort of already have the king versus king theme with Quinn and Hades, but with Leonidas being next up, being the last human, it just makes sense that he would go up against essentially the most powerful Norse god, Odin. King versus king, warrior versus warrior. I am excited to see how Odin fights Leonidas. I hope they do something than just spear. I really do. Obviously, goal would be his Volander. From the research I have done, Spartans also fought with the shield. I think the shield would also be a very interesting weapon for Leonidas to use. Maybe throw it kind of like Captain America, along with the spear. I think it'd be a great match. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And in the end, I'm going to have Leonidas, of course, take it, winning for humanity. Now, this sort of tosses out the big Odin traitor theory. The theory that Odin is turning on Zeus, or Odin is partaking in Ragnarok. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this theory, because Odin was clearly upset when Poseidon lost. He was not happy about it, and I feel like they wouldn't have shown Odin being pissed if he wasn't pissed. And we have to be honest, do we really see Zeus giving up the throne? Zeus already won his match. There's nobody, or at least no humans, that are left to kill Zeus And it's sort of implied that Zeus is the most powerful, especially with that punch that transcends time. Again, I could be 100% wrong. That's what I really like about Ragnarok. It's something that I really don't know what could happen. Anything could happen. You're always on the edge of your seat. You're always looking forward to the next chapter, seeing what revelation will there be? What surprises are going to show up? What characters could possibly show up? And I'm here for the ride. And it's fun to speculate and it's fun to talk, but obviously we don't know what's going on inside the author's heads. Nobody does other than them. And I think that's going to make this series one of the best to ever do it. At the very least, one of the best tournament mangas ever. Now, could there be another Ragnarok? Could Gold take up the mantle as the head Valkyrie and lead the Valkyries to another Ragnarok? Maybe. There's plenty of historical figures and there's plenty of gods all across the world that they could pull from, but I don't know. And hey, I think not knowing is kind of the fun part. Thank you so much for listening.